Welcome to the lab in computer architecture. We're in lab 5, and I am Nachum Danzig, a lecturer at Lave Academic Center, and I'm going to explain the problem and start the solution. So the idea here in lab 5, part A, part 1, is to check if a set of numbers is a subset of a larger set of numbers. So what we're going to do is define a set of numbers, of 32 numbers, each of size byte, 1 byte, and then the user is going to enter in a set of numbers, however many he wants, like 4 or 7, and then we're going to check if that set of numbers exists in order. That's a key point, in the original set. He will enter the size of the new set that he's giving. We'll call it code. We'll store the size in A3, and we can also store a pointer to we can think about how to store the numbers that he gives us, but we'll store them in an array, and we'll maybe store the location of the array in A2. That's why it's A3 here. A2 will be the location of the array, and A3 will be the size of the array, because we don't know how many numbers he's going to give us. If the code appears in the list of data you defined, note, the code must appear in the same order. This program ends by printing the code and stating whether the code was found or not found. Challenge. You don't have to do this, but print the number of times the code, because the code could appear several times. It could be multiple times in the list. Okay, so let's start this in assembly, in MIPS assembly. So first thing, I already wrote what I want to show you. First thing we're going to have is enter the length of the code, followed by this is the way I did it. You could have like 2 messages. First enter the length of the code, and then enter the code. But I did one error message, one introductory message. Enter the length of the code, followed by the numbers in the code. And then I made a list. And here's my list. 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, etc. These are 32 numbers. They go off the screen here. And I made a space for the code. 500 spaces, that's obviously more than I need. Now each one is a byte, remember that, which means also the code will be bytes. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but it'll be. Now, look at this number list. I have a special number list. What if I'm looking for 3 1s followed by 3 zeros? Now, if I check 3 1s, and I find 1 0, it's not right. So then I go on. 3 1s, and it's a 1. Now, that's not right. Now, if I continue on from here, I'll say 1 0 0, and I won't find it. What I have to do is when I had positive hits, yes, 1 1 1 1, and now it's not a 0. I got to go back. I got to retrace my steps and go back. I was here when I started checking. I got to go now to here and start checking, because now I will find it. 1 1 1 0 0 0. So be sure that you find the code even if you had this kind of almost finding it. If let's say you're looking for 6 digits. Okay, so that's our code. I just put some numbers in, and now the person is going to have to write a code and see if it's there. So the first thing I'm going to do is print the message. V0 gets 4 to print a string. A0 is the message, and I do syscall. Boom, he printed the message. Now I define some things that said in the question that A1 should be the length of this list, and it's 32. Also, it said that A0 should point to the list, so I did that. Notice I do this after here because I want to use A0 first. Then I put in the code, a pointer to the code, into A2. So I have a pointer to this space. And now I'm set up. Now what am I going to do? I'm going to say, I'm going to accept the first number. So I have to do cin, essentially. I have to do an input of a number. So I do 5 into V0, and I do syscall. So now I've got the number in V0, but I want to put it in A3 because that's where I want to store the length of the code that he's giving me. Now I have a loop because I'm going to continue inputting numbers until I've reached the amount of numbers that he told me here in A3. So I'm going to say, is S0, now notice I didn't even have to initialize S0 because S0 starts at 0, all the numbers start at 0. So I don't initialize it because I didn't, but I know I didn't use it before. So S0, as long as if it's equal to A3, if I've reached the size, then I'm done. Go to check code. Now I can start checking the code. But if I didn't, then get a new number. In other words, if the size was 0 that he wanted to check, then obviously I'm going to end right now. But if the size was 1, then it's not 0 yet, so I'm going to check in the first number, and I got the number. Now the number is in V0, but I want to store it for future use because I'm going to need to go through that list. So I need to store it in my array, which I'm going to call code, which is in this space, this 500 bytes. So the first thing I'm going to do is do a store byte. Notice it's not a store word because I just want a byte here. And in other words, the number can't be larger than 127. So I say take the number that I got in V0 and store it directly into the array at place 0. Now I've got to increment the pointer to A1 by 1 because it's not by 4 because it's bytes, and I've got to increment my counter to by 1. And now I go unconditional jump back to the input and I check, is the counter reach the size that he gave me? If not, then continue on. If it did, then I'm going to go to check code. Now I'm going to keep going obviously until I've received all the numbers. Now I've got the numbers. Now I've changed my A2 because I incremented it, but I need to go back to the beginning of it so I can start checking it. So the first thing I'm going to do is do another LA A2 code. I could, of course, save the A2 in another variable and then copy it, and that actually would be more efficient, but I did it this way. Now at this point, I've got a pointer to the beginning, and I've got to run a loop within a loop because I've got to run a loop to go through my code and check, is the first number the same as this number? Is the second number the same as this number? And as soon as I find that one is not the same, I've got to go back to the beginning of this and increment this one by 1 and then check from here forward. So I'm going to have a loop within a loop. I'll leave it to you to do that complicated work. Good luck.